What's up, peeps? It's your boy Eduard Todor. Not me, but he is here. Hello, Edward. Say hello to the nice people at home.
What's up, peeps? How
I
you
think
doing?
I do it better, but that was a good try. Um, here's
You want
the
me to do the
intro.
whole intro?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. What's up, peeps? It's your boy Eduard Todor, and we're coming in. We're coming in with the interview, talking about random stuff and magic and social media and stuff like that. But yeah,
All
that should
right.
be fun.
Now
I'm
this
looking
is
forward
this
to it.
is my for the people who know this show through me. Hey everybody, welcome to Magic Mind. You are here, my friends, because you know, like me, that magic is an art form with the ability to move and entertain people like no other. But you also know that developing this skill requires diligent practice and a detailed understanding of the craft. So my goal with this show and company is to introduce you to the people and ideas that will help you develop your magic. Today we have Edward. Edward, say hello.
What's up? How you doing?
Edward, if you don't know, is a YouTuber with thousands of followers and millions of views on his main channel, largely due to the fact because he posts daily. This guy is insane, grinding to the max. Actually, could you tell us just a little bit about that, the process that you're going through every day to actually pump out content at the insane pace that you're already doing?
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's a little bit easier because I've kind of got the whole process down on lock. I kind of have a habit of it, but yeah, essentially, I work a full-time job, and so I work, I come home immediately, go online, see what people are requesting or what they're not requesting, what's been happening. If I see some, maybe on Fula something's really popping, I record myself watching the video. I give my thoughts on it, and then I also do like a trick and edit it together in the intro, and then I basically upload and post it up. And yeah, that's essentially my daily routine. And then I go to training, I come home, and I sleep. I try to, at least. I usually have trouble with that, but
Yeah,
yeah.
well, when you're
So
when you're grinding that hard, especially in the early days, sleep is optional. Sleep is secondary to whatever whatever the main thing is comes
that's
first, and
true.
then sleep if you get there. Awesome. So
Yeah.
before we kind of went live, we kind of went over what we would talk about, and with the social media that you're building up and being a magician as you are, who works professionally at least sometimes. You're starting to understand the different concepts of marketing and branding and providing value. So let's go a little bit into that, if you would. Just tell
Yep.
us about, because one thing that you said right before this, which I thought was super, super interesting, providing value before you receive anything. Tell us about
hmm
that.
Super big concept. I mean, the thing is, I learned this from a dude called Gary Vee. If you guys aren't following this guy, you're
Gary
missing
V.
out a lot.
Totally.
Yeah. So basically, essentially, most people, when they enter out in any sort of business or whatever, they're just thinking about what they can gain from it, which is good because that's kind of the whole point of even starting a business, right? But what people aren't thinking about is that if you're, if your business has anything to do with people, which it usually does, right? Because you need people to either buy your product, or you need people as an audience to watch your stuff, or whatever you're doing, you need to actually get the engagement of the audience first. And so the only way to do that is by actually giving value. So if a lot of magic channels, they're tutorial channels. That's giving value. People are learning. Some magic channels, they do street magic, or they do, that's entertainment. So at the same time of, you see, Chris Ramsey just released a new deck of cards. How would have it been if he just, the first video he ever put out, he's like, hey guys, here's my deck of cards, buy it. It wouldn't work. So he spent all that time building the audience, giving value, getting that kind of connection with people, and then he's able to monetize off the back of it. Oh, that's my phone going off. I should turn that down.
No worries.
But yeah, that's like generally the concept that you want to go for. And of course, this kind of breaks down into everything. I see people all the time, hitting me up and like, bro, can I get a shout out? Which is, I understand the hustle, but at the same time, it's like, where's the value that you're giving? Like what makes me want to give you you know what I'm saying? So you first have to give me something that I'm like, okay, wow, that's actually really helpful for me. I'm going to help this guy back. Or maybe it's mutually beneficial for both of us to be engaging in the way I'm doing now, right? Like I see what you're doing, and I'm like, damn, this guy like has mad potential. So I'm even though technically, right, if you look at like our following, you know, it doesn't make real sense for me to do this, right? And for everyone else that has been interviewed by you, but you give the value for you is the fact that you know what you're doing, you're grinding, you're putting out good content, so that's what you're offering, right? So yeah, it all comes down to that, you know, networking, even in real life, right? If you're hanging out with someone, you're not just trying to see what you can gain from them, you know. You're trying to actually, like, let's say I want to make a friend. Like, let's say I go out tonight at the club, and my main focus is to make a friend. Am I going to be like, hey, bro, do you have a car? Oh, okay, cool, you do. That means you can drive me around later on, you know?
Right,
no,
exactly.
You just have fun. They enjoy who you are, and then you become friends, right?
I actually see this show as sort of a case study of networking, because I have no resources, like very, very few resources, and a lot of what I've been able to do is just out of networking, like you're talking about. So, for example, I've been networking for a couple months now, just trying to meet as many magicians as possible online, telling them about the show. And when I was building a website for this, randomly, someone just raised their hand. A magician online on Facebook, one of my Facebook friends, raised their hand and said, I'm a website developer. I will develop your website for free for you, just cuz. And that's like so awesome. And I have so many examples of this. I wanted to start writing articles and blogs on Magic Mind, but I know I'm not the best writer. So same thing. I just, one night, do I have any magician friends who like to write? DM me. I got like 100
I saw that post.
You saw that?
Yeah.
The engagement was insane. Networking
That's
is
great.
so powerful. I got like 20 DMs, 30 comments, 100 likes. Like, I have never seen that sort of engagement. But this whole show, I think, is just like a case study for how cool people are if you know how to network.
And that's actually very inspiring to me, because when I saw you, I was like, wait a minute, how the hell is this guy getting like these big names? You know, and I'm like, wait a minute, you know. But obviously, behind the scenes, you're doing shit that's you know, good stuff, because clearly, otherwise, you know.
Actually, you'd be surprised. It's just magicians are so cool. So few people have said no, like a shocking amount. People who they didn't know who I was. I just, you know, people who I've been watching for years. I just randomly reached out, and almost all of them have said yes. Just. And that more speaks to just how cool we are as a Magic community, how tight we all are. If you need help, if you're looking for something, odds are you can reach out to our influencers and they will help you. Like, that's just what I've found on a personal basis. You know what I'm saying?
But then again, that comes from you taking action, right? And taking action with value, because you're offering for them a platform to express themselves as well, right? So it's not just you gaining stuff from it, you know. And the same thing that you were saying, you know, I have, like, for my Discord channel, my Discord server, I have like literally a team of admins that set it all up. They reach out to me. They're like, you should get this done, and I'm like, I have no clue how I would do that. They're like, we'll do it for you. They set the whole thing up. They're moderating it like 24/7. Like, I don't even have to do anything, and it's like they just want to do this because, you know, they're like, we like what you do. You definitely have an audience. I think this is potential, right? So again, like, you take massive action. You offer value, and things just happen, you know. And you know, the law of attraction, I don't really necessarily agree with the fact that the universe versus, you know, kind of like this whole wishy-washy thing about how the universe reaches back to you or whatever. But at the same time, that is how you do it. You know, you take action and you do the right things, and then people will see that and want to be part of it. That's essentially it.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that's going through my mind as we're talking about all this, you have some videos that have pretty much gone viral. I think that's pretty safe to say. Yeah. Could you anticipate that? I don't know how my mind went here. It has kind of nothing to do with what we're talking about, but just while I'm here, can you anticipate what videos go viral?
The very first one that went viral shocked me, like, completely, because I had been doing it. I want to say I did like 5 or 6 daily videos that were getting nothing. They were getting like 10 views. Okay. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I wake up and my 7th or 6th video just had like 15,000 views in the morning, and I'm like, what in the hell just happened? And then as I was like refreshing it throughout the day, it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, and I was just like shocked, right? But that was, for me, it was like the proof that like my format worked. That was what really like made me believe, because initially I didn't really believe it was going to happen. I just set myself the goal of doing 30 days. and I just wanted to see what would happen. That was essentially it. I had the idea. I actually stole the idea of the format from. Well, I didn't steal it, but I watched these like a few hip hop reaction channels, and I figured, wait, like there's so many people that watch this, and it's so entertaining for me as like myself. There's no one doing this for Magic. Like I just didn't. You know, there were a couple reaction videos that Chris Ramsey did to like Bad Magic, and they were kind of like a comedic thing, but no one was reacting to actual, you know, shows or performances or, you know what I mean, like legitimately like good Magic content. And I was thinking, wait a minute, if this works for hip hop, why can't it work for anything else, right? So what I did was I essentially literally took the format and I said, okay, what did these guys do that I could copy essentially? And I saw that they did, you know, a freestyle at the very beginning of every video, like a freestyle rap thing, and it was fun and it was entertaining. Mm-hmm. And then they went into React, and then, you know, throughout the video they were cracking jokes and being hilarious, which, you know, that's their thing. And so I was like, okay, well, for Magic I could do like a trick or a flourish or something in the intro, and that also gets my stuff out there. But then at the same time, you know, the reaction is really what pulls people in, because people are searching up the tags and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, let's try it. Okay, and again, the first few videos just didn't do anything. But then I think it was the Will Tsai one. Yeah, the Will Tsai was the one that I think took off. And after that, I was like, okay, so people are definitely searching the term, right? It was the Code Matrix one, clearly, right? Yeah, everyone went nuts over that. Yeah. And I was like, hey, people are searching this. Let me see, can I make a video that doesn't even have, you know, I did another video on Will Tsai, but just like right after that, and it was like some other performance he did, and that also did pretty well. Not as well as the first one, but still. And I was like, okay, so this is reproducible. Okay, that's what I like. In my mind, I was like, this is reproducible. It's not luck anymore. And then I was like, okay, what if I make a video that's just me talking? Okay, like no content about Will Tsai at all, just my ideas about whatever he's doing or whatever. Can that also get like views and lots of engagement? You know, so I was just playing and trying to see, is it just because there's a video of him performing that people are clicking on it, or are other people actually interested in what I have to say? And so I did that, and that also did okay. I think I got like pretty like 10K views pretty quickly, and I was like, okay, this is something I can keep doing. And then I think views were kind of dropping off and stuff like that, because I stopped doing, you know, there weren't people. I wasn't doing necessarily like massively search people for a while. And then I think my next one was the Demian Aditya's video, the escape on America's Got Talent.
Yeah, right.
I think that one popped up. That one went insane, right? And all the Indonesian people, like basically all his fans, because Magic is huge in Indonesia. I didn't even know that before this, but all the Indonesian viewers came in and were like kind of like bandwagoning on the video and like, yeah, go Demian, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so this is a patriotism. This is at this point, it's not even about the Magic. It's about like they're supporting the dude, right? So then when his second performance came out, I was like, okay, I have to make a video on this. I know it's gonna go crazy. And it was either his second performance was the one that just went insane. Mm-hmm. And that one I actually knew was gonna happen. That one went 4th trending in Indonesia, on the YouTube of Indonesia.
Wow.
I was in like some of the tabloids. Apparently, they tell me I was even in the newspaper. Like it went nuts.
That's insane. Oh my god.
Yeah. They were like I did like Google Translate to see what they were saying, and it was something to do with like international magician said this about Demian's performance and you know, and it was just like
so cool.
Just crazy, you know. And so once that happened, I was like, yeah, this is sorted. I know this works now.
You know, that's really interesting, because what you're saying is you started to figure out what it was that was making certain videos successful and others not. I've talked to a couple YouTubers on this show, and they have had videos go viral, and they'll tell me that they have no idea what it was. They like just don't know. So it's really interesting that you have this whole process sorted out in your mind, where you could, I mean, maybe not always, but at least to a certain degree, predict the videos that are going to do well. And I also hope that people catch this when they were listening to all that. You were talking about a lot of recent things. Like, this is all fairly recent, right? How long have you been on YouTube?
My channel's been up like for ages, but I just didn't post anything for a long time. I think I have a video that was like 9 or 10 months ago. No, that probably like almost a year ago. But that was like I just put it up for like friends and stuff. Like I wasn't trying to make a YouTube channel back then. And then I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago that I started really doing this.
Yeah.
So
4 or 5 months, you're at 16,000 subscribers. That's
yeah.
pretty insane.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What is the secret?
All right. So essentially, what I found is you can have the best content, and you can have the most entertaining stuff. But if people aren't searching you, it's going to be hard. Okay, it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of The only time I see this happening, people blowing up like that, is comedy, because everyone shares like if it's something that's hilarious, you're going to share it with 15 friends.
Yeah.
And then they're going to share it with 15 friends, and then it just blows up, right? But if it's anything that's like I'm personally, I don't consider myself the funniest guy ever, although it's definitely something I'm interested in. Comedy is something that I'm. Yeah, but so I wouldn't say like that's the reason why people watch me. I think I have some humor here and there, but it's not like So for me, it was like. It was a way to, you have to figure out a way to do videos that are related to things that people are searching. So even if, for example, even my non-reaction videos that I've done that, people kind of engaged with quite well relative to, my baseline, seem to be things like, what does it take to fool Penn and Teller? It was just me talking for 10 minutes, but again, that's tags people are searching, right? Penn and Teller, fool us, all this stuff. Then, Richard Bellas, the guy that fooled Penn and Teller with the shoe prediction, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Made a video basically revealing how he did it, and he was like, well, Edward was literally right, because he's a viewer of my channel, and he's like, he's right, because this wasn't skill, it was just creativity. And then so that kind of validated what I was saying, and it builds up on that. But essentially, what I think it is you have to make content that's relevant. Has to be relevant, because if you look at all these big YouTubers, I mean, I hate to like do this, but Jake Paul, Rice Gum, all these like massive dudes, PewDiePie, like all the guys, what I'm saying, all the top dudes, they're all making stuff that's like very, very, very like relevant content.
Yeah.
And you see this, the drama back and forth, the diss tracks, the reacting to his diss track, reacting to his whatever. Like it's always that. Why is that? Why do you think that is? And it's very clear to me. It's very, very. It's just all about relevant content, because people search it, then they click it. Now I find that the relevant content thing seems to be the easiest part, but actually keeping your viewers is the hardest part. Because you can get a lot of clicks, but actually having people engage with your content on a daily basis is what seems to be the difficult thing. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I try to break it down between, getting what people are requesting and what they want to see, and engaging with, my audience in as many ways as I can. Comments, Instagram, I respond to literally everything that people for a while, I responded to every single comment, no matter what it was. I just simply don't have time for that anymore. But for the longest time, I did that, and it was taking up hours of my day. But I still did it. So essentially, I feel like getting clicks and stuff like that, and creating, that's a skill in itself. Trying to figure out what's trending and what's not, and what's going to go big and what isn't. But at the same time, once you get those clicks, how do you convert those clicks to viewers that will watch you every day? That seems to be the ongoing struggle, and I think daily videos helps a lot with that, because it gets people in a habit of watching you every day. It gets people in a habit, they kind of like start to know you as a person, as opposed to just some guy. And they actually like, I've had people hit me up and they like literally knew everything about me. They knew like, oh, you said that those cards were bad, but I remember you said in the video 3 months ago that, like, I was just like, holy shit, you remember this? I can't even remember what I said,
My own mother doesn't know me this well.
yeah, and it's a cool feeling, but at the same time, it takes a lot of work,
Yeah, I understand. And the thing that you're doing with daily videos, I think you're right. The fact that it gets people in that sort of habitual cycle, and it seems like you've got a pretty good retention rate from video to video at this point. I'm watching, when you come out with a video, very quickly, a lot of people have watched it, and I think part of that is because you offer so much commentary. It's not only reactions, but it's so much commentary, and that's where your personality comes in, and that's, I think, why people keep coming back. It's maybe the original reaction that gets people to click, but it's your ongoing commentary that gets people to come back to see what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, you're definitely right about that. I mean, not to bash anyone else, but ever since I kind of like blew, like a few of my stuff blew up with reacting to magic, there's been quite a few people doing it,
Hmm.
and I see a lot of people doing it not wrong, but just in a way that they just react to it and then they cut the video, and that may be entertaining, but it's not going to build that 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 relationship with the viewers, and
Yeah.
also you're not really providing enough value, in my opinion. If you're just going to watch it and then like why would they watch it over someone that doesn't know magic? Why would they watch your reaction over someone that's just some random guy that's really funny? you know and the reason why they would watch that is because you're a magician, and so whatever value and insight you can offer from your standpoint is going to be what sets you apart from anyone else.
Wow. Okay. So right away, I can tell you're very insightful and you've thought a lot about this. So, how did you figure this all out? Like, did you have a game plan going into YouTube? Because even you're talking about you have like a structure for your video, and as far as I can tell, it's almost every video you have that like has a pretty clear structure. So you must have planned this out at least at some point. Where did this insight come from?
Yeah, honestly, it's a lot of trial and error, and people. That's what I think people holds people back a lot, is they're afraid to try things and fail. They're
Hmm.
afraid to go wrong, and you can never predict what's going to happen. You have to go in, do it, figure out what happened, analyze what happened, and then go back and like kind of work on the strategy.
Yeah, there's a cool
Um,
little like mantra. It's just ready, fire, aim. Right?
exactly. Yeah,
Fire and
you
then
always
correct
calibrate
course.
after, never before, because you don't know what's going to happen,
Hmm.
and so. Yeah, I mean, originally the very first couple videos I did were literally just because I realized, like, I would always get asked by my non-magician friends, "Oh, what do you think of Dynamo? What do you think of this guy? What do you think of that guy?" And I wanted to do YouTube, so I was like, "What can I do that's like, I can't be doing like daily, like performances or whatever, just because I literally like, it's so time consuming to go out, get like an audience or stream magic, and I wanted to do daily." So I said, okay, what can I do, and what can I even do that people will actually be interested in watching? And so I figured, okay, what about if I just like talk about different magicians, because people seem to be interested anyway. People ask me all the time, like in real life, and so I did like one on Chris Angel, one on like the
Yeah,
classic
yeah,
ones that people
sure.
ask about. Yeah, and then I started. I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 videos in. Like as I was doing this, I was like researching a lot. So I started doing it before I even really had a plan, to be honest.
Okay.
But then as I started doing it, I was like researching into, as I said, the hip hop reaction channels that I used to watch. There's a couple of reaction channels that I actually still watch, and so it's just like they offer different types of value. Like one of them, he gets his mom to react to hip hop videos, and
Oh,
it's that's
cool.
the value that's being offered.
Yeah.
So I realized like every single successful reaction channel had their own like value that they're offering. It's not just someone sitting there.
Hmm.
And I had to figure out what my value was. And so I just essentially what I did is I put out videos and I kind of saw the response. I saw um, what people were saying about it, how they were engaging with it, and then I tried to like extrapolate and like figure out, okay, this is what that means. This is what that means. And for example, in the first video that went viral, the Will Tsai one, I had actually seen the video that I was reacting to. I literally saw it before I reacted, because I
Yeah.
didn't,
Yeah.
I just saw it
Sure.
on Facebook and I was like, I should do this video for this.
Okay.
And then I rewatched it again. And people hated that. Like if you look at the like dislike ratio, it's like pretty massive. Like dislike, the dislikes are pretty big. And it was because I had already seen it. People were like, this is not a reaction. You're just rewatching it.
Yeah.
And then from there on, I was like, oh, okay. So now I know. And then for the next videos, I made sure that I don't watch it before I react to it. So again, it's trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. Like this is another Gary Vee concept that I think really pushed me, because I used to be a massive perfectionist, and if something wasn't right, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's very toxic, because what he says is basically quality is subjective, but output or like metrics aren't. So if you, let's say I put out a video, you might say it sucks, but the next person might say it's good, whereas you can't really argue whether or not I put out a video.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
if I put out 100 videos, that's a number that's not really debatable. Whether or not they're good, that's another question altogether. So as long as you're improving from video to video, as long as you're trial and error, and you're basically trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, but you're putting in the act, you're taking massive action, you're putting in the work. That's what's going to breed results, because you're going to improve. If you do this every day for 100 days straight, like, I mean, I think I'm like 140 days in or something. If you do this for that long, you're going to improve. You're going to get better. You're going to figure out what works. So it's only a matter of time.
That's awesome. And you know what? I'm not surprised that you're a Gary Vee guy at all. The daily hustle just it gives it away. I'm not at all surprised. And a lot of so I'm lucky enough on this show. Again, we talked about this at the very beginning. I'm having people on who are basically famous, and I find that a lot of them are not necessarily in the Gary Vee world, but in a similar world. And I think that that's interesting. Take from it what you will, but these people who are successful seem to have that in common, the fact that they're always looking to improve themselves and they're looking towards, some guide. Yeah. Okay, so you have this aggressive grind approach to YouTube. Did that come from somewhere? Did you apply that somewhere else in your life before YouTube?
Well, to be honest, it was Gary Vee that literally got my ass into gear. Yeah. So essentially what happened was, this is like kind of a background thing into my life. I went to, throughout school, I wanted to do medicine. That was like my thing. I was like, my goal in life was to be a doctor, right? Mm-hmm. And I got, I was always the type of person that would do things last minute, never really, like, even though I was a perfectionist, I think that's what even drove me there. Like, I'm ADHD, so that's another thing. But like, even the fact that the perfectionist thing, it was like, well, if I do it last minute and I don't get the perfect mark, it doesn't matter because I did it last minute. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was like taking pressure off myself in a way. And so I would always do things last minute. I would always, hand in tests. And I got good results because I figured out, in the same way I figured out like YouTube in a way, I figured out the system behind, studying, cramming and stuff like that. So when I got to university, especially like pre-med, which is it's health science here, but pre-med, what you guys would know, I couldn't do that anymore. It just wasn't like, there was so much study that I could not, there was no way I could have crammed that, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I dropped out. I was like hating my life because I couldn't do it. And also it was really boring. I was getting so bored, like reading for, 5 hours, 6 hours a day, just sitting in front of a book that's like outside of university lectures and stuff. And I was just like, nope, this is not going to work. So I dropped out essentially, and I didn't do shit for like a year. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I'm just, I pretty much just screwed around for a year. And yeah. And then I started looking into investing, and I was like, because I realized I didn't really want to have to work. Like, I didn't really want to have to do something, because I didn't. It's not even the fact that
a brilliant, it's not even revelation.
Exactly. It's not even a fact that I don't want to have to work. It's just there was nothing I liked. There was just really nothing I liked. Like in academia, in anything.
Let me cut it. There's nothing you liked, including magic at that time?
Well, magic for me was fun, but for me it was always like, if I started, there was just no money in it for me, especially in New Zealand. Like, I wasn't making money from it really, Well, actually, I hadn't made money. I'd done performances here and there, but usually they were like just me doing performances that I wanted to. Okay. Like, at camps or at whatever, I just wanted to do it. So I talked to the guy and was like, okay, I'll perform. So, it just wasn't a feasible thing, and so. I was like, okay, look, I don't want to have to work. I just want to be able to do whatever I want to do. Mm-hmm. And so how do I do that? So I started looking into passive income and all that kind of stuff. And I got into read kind of a bit on investing. And so I was like, okay, look, I'm going to just just work some shitty job, just save as much money as I can, live with my parents, don't waste any money, save it all, invest. And then, in the time it takes to get a medical degree, I'll have enough money to like live passively. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that was the plan. But then I started doing that, right? Now, up until this point, I had started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu quite often, 4 or 5 times a week. So there were a lot of things that I started taking action for before I started doing this. And I had seen like crazy results. Like, the difference between training once or twice a week versus training 5 times a week is insane. The amount you improve is just crazy. Yeah. Like, there's this girl that started training way after me. She trains like she's a Pilates instructor, so she has time and can do recovery and all that. She trains probably like two times a day, 5 days a week. Like that's how insane, right?
Oh my God.
And she got way better than I did within like 6 months. And I had been training for like over a year or something. And I was like, dude, this is insane, you know? So I had noticed that pattern, like people taking action, people putting in work, get results. That's just that's just how it is, you know? And so once, you know, and I had been consuming a lot of Gary Vee content, and he was saying like, if you're already good at something and you're not, like if you're already good at something that you kind of like that's lucky. You're lucky right there, and you should pursue that. That's why like his main thing. So I was like, man, he's kind of right. Like I'm doing shit I don't like, and you know I can see like taking action works. So let's go. I don't care. Let's go. And I was like, you know, let's just do 30 days. See what it's like. You know, 30 days. And before this YouTube thing, I did 30 days on Instagram where I was posting daily, like a trick every day, which was actually way harder than I thought it would be. Mm-hmm. But I did it. And I got, I think it was like almost 100% increase in my followers in that 30 days.
Wow, yeah.
Which wasn't like I had like probably 300 followers, and by the end I had 600 or something. Yeah, so it wasn't like a huge, you know, but it's still like something, right?
It's different than 1 to 2.
Yeah, yeah. So again, I had a little bit of experience with that, and I was like, you know what, YouTube's like, it's something that I would actually like to do. And as a kid, I actually started a YouTube channel with comedy, very, very close to what Ray William Johnson used to do when I was like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And I did that for a little bit, and I like, you know, it was just like kind of like childhood dream in a way, but I didn't even know it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of how it happened. It just things just stacked up, and I was just doing better and better in all these different areas of my life. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll do YouTube.
How many subscribers did your 12-year-old comedy channel have?
Oh, like 10 or 11. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's nothing. Yeah.
I'm still doing better.
Yeah. It was funny because I remember when I got like my 10th subscriber or something, he like reached out and he's like, dude, keep doing it. You're funny.
Aww.
And I was like, holy shit. You know, I was like, wow, someone's actually enjoying it, you know?
That's so sweet.
Yeah. So
that's how I feel. Yeah. Yo, you and I were actually connected by a guy who has been watching my content, and like he's been a cheerleader, and that man is a champion. Every video he comments like, great job, keep it up. This just such a champion, and just sending out that positivity in the world. Like even if it's through a screen, just know you're putting a smile on someone's face. Like you really, really are.
100%. 100%, yeah. Especially to people like, you know, like us that actually value the people. You know, when you're trying to build a following, it's like people think they just need to emulate what the top guys are doing already, you know, and so they don't respond to comments, they don't do it, and it's like, no, man, you got to build that audience one at a time. That's one at a time. You got to connect with the individual people one at a time, because one is always better than zero.
Yeah. So Gary Vee, of course. And then that one person, if you evangelize them enough, will build another person, and that's how everything happens.
And eventually they reach out to a 16K subscriber channel, and the guy likes you as well, so he reaches out to you. You know, that's how it works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the difference that you found between doing magic on YouTube, because you do a lot of magic on YouTube, even if it's just, you know, at the beginning of a video, and doing magic in person. What are the biggest differences? Okay, I've done a couple of, like, I think it's like 4 live performances at this point as well. So performing to actual live people, and I need to do more, because people, like, a lot of my new viewers don't even know I've done them, and I'm like, no, but they're there, they're great. I didn't know either. You sent me one, and it was really great. You should. Yeah.
Anyway, so definitely performing to people in real life is a little bit easier. I would say it's easier to do because you can have that like one routine, and you can just do it to different people every time, and you know what I mean? Like, I go to the club, and I just have my 2-card Monty, or Be Honest, Where Is It, whichever way you want to it by, and I'll have my like 2-card Monty routine, and like maybe a bit of ambitious card, and just like some basic stuff, and the whole club knows who I am by, like, you know what I mean, by the time I leave. So it's like you don't need to be super. You can kind of like work on the presentation a lot more. You can kind of work on those aspects. Whereas with YouTube, especially doing daily videos, man, I struggle to find new tricks and new content to put up in the intro sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll read something, I'm like, okay, that's a cool concept, and I want to do it now, but I just learned it. Like, I need to practice it, you know?
Yeah.
And so that kind of, so that will mean that I'll have to do a lot of takes, and it's frustrating because sometimes I can't get it, and it's like pissing me off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that kind of like having to do daily intros is definitely good in a way that it pushes me to learn new things, and I don't get complacent. But it's definitely harder in a way because I have to do things that 140 videos in, or I think I'm 140 now, something like that. 140 videos in, it's like I've done everything I know.
Yeah.
There's not one thing that I haven't done, you know. So it's
That's
like,
so
what do
funny,
I do?
Well,
Yeah.
I've done a few walk around gigs, and the first gig I did, I had like a jacket full of like 30 things. I did 4 hours and used 2 things. It was crazy, just how like much I thought I would need and how little I actually needed. But then that's an exact contrast to what you're saying. You know, you need to have. And one of the biggest pieces of advice is that magicians will tell you is, you know, a great magician gets good at 3 things, and a mediocre magician gets good at 1 million things. But that doesn't exactly work when you're trying to do something new every day. You gotta find a new rule.
And the thing for me is it's not even the fact that I don't like them or I'm against them. I just personally don't use gimmicks pretty much ever, you know?
Same.
I'll be lucky if I have a duplicate card on me. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, I actually because that's the first thing that a spectator will think of, and I get secretly happy whenever they go, that's a trick deck. I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, you thought
just
it
hand
was.
it out. Yeah. Yeah. No, that happens to me all the time. I mean, like one time in a club, this girl was literally looking at my cards like this.
Yeah.
Like trying to see if there's anything on them for like 10 minutes straight. I was like, okay, can I get my cards back so I can perform? But yeah.
I would feel such shame if I had like a gimmicked deck and then someone's like, those are trick cards. Let me see them. And I'm like, nope, they're not gimmicked. Like,
yeah,
I would
exactly.
feel such shame in that moment.
Yeah, or you just get really good at switching out decks or something. But
I suppose.
yeah, so the thing is, what I'm saying is, I can't really rely on gimmicks that well. You know, a lot of these, you know, if I was gonna do, you know, a trick a day, you know, you just get a lot of easy gimmicks and do that. But I don't really do that, so it's a little bit harder. I have to actually come out with content that is more sleight of hand based.
Yeah. So tell us what you're going to do in the future with your channel. How long are we going to be seeing reaction videos, if forever?
Well, to be honest, as long as people enjoy them, I'm down to do them. But they were never the goal of the channel. Like my goal was never to become the reaction guy. You know, I mean, I have, and I embrace it. But it's like that's definitely not the route that I was gonna go. They were just there to build exposure, to help me get my name out there, essentially. You know, and it's like if we break it down, that's really what they were. And you know, my goal was to put out. As you know, because one of the things I noticed was some of these reaction guys, they might be like rappers themselves that just casually, you know, or they might be, you know, the guy with the mum that reacts to stuff. His friend is a musician, and he got really famous based on his channel, you know. And this kind of happened a couple times, and I'm like, wait a minute, you know, if I have an audience that kind of knows me as the magician, because here's the interesting thing, okay. Magic is a very, very interesting art form, because if you think about it, it's not like music where people can kind of gauge how good you are. They just hear you and they're like, oh yeah, he's a really good singer, right? With magic, you could have a trick deck that's like the simplest thing, you know, Svengali, or you could do, you know, like you're like 15 years of second dealing and you show the same card throughout the whole pack, right? And people won't know the difference. They'll be able to tell whether who's better in that scenario.
Yep.
So really what it comes down to, if we're talking about building a brand and if we're talking about magic and getting paid for it, which, you know, I wouldn't know yet, but I will. But really what it comes down to, it's marketing, right?
Yeah.
Like what makes David Blaine or Dynamo get paid better than like Bill Malone, right? Like,
yep.
What is it? Is it their skill? Not necessarily, right? And I mean, they have good personas, they have good personality, they have good stage presence. Don't get me wrong, but it's huge, huge. Like in Magic, marketing seems to be way more important than in almost any other art form.
This is so funny. This is something I think about obsessively, and whenever I bring it up to other people, they're like, "Yeah, I never really thought about that." But you're thinking about it, and that's so cool. It's something that I think about obsessively. David Blaine is not the best magician. The most famous magician is not the best magician, not even close. And I think that's actually the same in every industry. I don't think the most famous rapper is the best rapper.
I mean, that's true. That's true. But at the same time, like yes. For example, Justin Bieber probably isn't the best singer, but he's damn good. He's pretty damn. I don't necessarily like that guy, but you can't deny it, right? Like he's got a talent for sure. But like, in Magic, it seems to be a little bit harder because the spectators, the people that are actually actively enjoying the art form, don't really have a way to gauge how good you are.
Right.
They just, if they get fooled, then you're good,
Exactly. Some people, believe it or not, when they think about magicians, Steve Martin comes to mind because he did some comedy magic back in the day. They don't know that he's like not a magician. All they know is that they were entertained when they saw him. Like that's the only thing your spectator is actually remembering or feeling in that moment. Not whether or not you're good, but whether or not they were entertained.
Yeah, which bleeds into so many things like. Again, taking it back to the two-card Monty, right? Like, well, again, be honest, where is it? I started performing that just because I didn't really, like, basically before this channel started, I wasn't performing all that much. And so I wasn't even that comfortable performing. I always got scared of, like, getting caught. I always got scared of, but that goes away after you perform enough. So what I would do, I'll do the two-card Monty because I just felt really comfortable with it. I knew exactly what I would do and everything, right? But what I realized, I've been doing it for so much recently. What I realized is like, I'm starting to focus so much on the entertainment aspect of it, and kind of like, I'll fake the transfer and I'll be like, wait, do you really think it's in there? Are you sure? No, I did switch it, and then they check and I didn't, and it's hilarious. Yeah. And then I really switch it next time, and they don't believe me, and it's like this whole back and forth game thing. That's my phone again. Back and forth game thing. Right? Back and forth game thing where it's like, it's just like a fun thing that we're doing, as opposed to me saying, well, look, I put the card in the middle and it comes to the top. I put the card in the middle and it comes to the top. I put the card, and it's like, okay, we get it. Like, cool, whatever, So, again, marketing, but again, the same thing, right? The performance aspect is essentially it's your marketing on the spot, essentially, what it is. Yeah. Like, Penn and Teller, they do some simple shit, but it's so entertaining that you're just like, wow, these guys are great.
Yeah. So, what do you think magicians could be doing better in the way of their personal marketing?
It's a good one.
I think but I'll let you go first.
Right, okay. And their personal marketing, well, the thing is, what I found is that you just have to be known as the magician. And then people will expect you to be that guy, And so whichever way you can find to do that, like, for example, I did it through reactions, right? Yeah. That was my, like, little theory that it would work, and it worked. But, if you're doing it in real life, for example, like, my friends market for me when I'm out. I don't even say anything. People are like, bro, you guys know he's a magician, and then I just deny it. I don't even, and I start playing with them, and they're like, oh, really? No, show us a trick, and then So at the end of the day, it's like, if you can somehow establish yourself as that guy, then that gets your foot in the door, and then from there you can, And so I found that through reactions, in the same way Gary Vee says, like, if you're a musician, you should be doing, compression tutorials, Ableton tutorials, how to pitch down the song, how to whatever. Like, you should be doing all this stuff to just to establish yourself in that industry. No matter, like, even if you don't want to be doing tutorials for the rest of your life, establish yourself in the industry whichever way you can. So I don't remember who it was. I did see a video. Was it a TED Talk or something? I don't remember. But this magician, he was like giving basically insight into how he would sell a pen. that was interesting, right? Because it's his perspective from like kind of this intriguing magician, cheater, cheat type thing. Even though he's probably not like, just if you're a magician, you're probably not necessarily qualified to be doing that. But it is an interesting insight to give to people. So if you can establish yourself, even with things that aren't really related to magic, if you can give your insight from a magician's perspective, a lot of the times, that, especially on social media, that can put you in that space where it's like, oh shit, that's interesting. Like I did a video about like cheating in tests at school. It's like, I'm a magician, I use these techniques, So yeah, I think like if you can, everything you can take that you can do a magic spin on it, then there it is. And again, that comes back to having relevant content. It comes back to, if I don't know, someone, I don't know, let's say like this is an idea I have. I want to do a Draw My Life for my YouTube channel, but as a Sam the Bellhop card trick.
Oh, that's genius.
Right? There we go. So again, it's like, it's just me introducing myself to my viewers, but it's still magic related,
Oh,
so I think
smart.
Yeah, you can steal that, by the way. It's fine.
May I?
But yeah, so.
Oh wow, sweet.
I think yeah, I don't know. What do you think about it?
I love that. I'm still talking about Sam the Bellhop. We could talk about marketing, but that was
okay.
a great idea. I think it's an awesome idea. Yeah, with marketing. So I think it's important to find your unique angle. So let me kind of break that down. Think about acts that go viral, or think about magicians that you remember. I think that the people who stand out are the people who have the most personality. People like Piff the Dragon or Bill Malone. People who are more than a magician. People if you want a magician, you can go to I don't know, whatever, Gig Salad. But if you want Bill Malone, you can only call Bill Malone. No one else can do it. If you want Piff the Dragon, no one else can be a substitute for Piff the Dragon. There's a million magicians. There's one Piff the Dragon, and I think that's the reason a lot of magicians pop. So David Blaine at the time, no one was doing that. Today, street magic is such like a mainstream form of magic. So look, watch is such a common line now, but no one else, believe it or not, was doing it at the time that David Blaine was doing it. He was 100% unique in that style, and that's kind of what made him pop. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Very good. Very interesting points, actually. Yeah, I was thinking more from like like social media branding type thing, but yeah, that's actually even better, because if you can, like in real life, if you can actually do acts that pop, then 100% you get there instantly, But yeah, that's actually a very good point. I have one video that kind of got, it went viral within my social circle in a way, because I did this performance at my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club, and I was in a gi, which is what we call the kimono, or whatever you guys would recognize it as. And I was in there and doing it to everyone, and because my coach is like a huge magic fan, and so when he found out I was a magician, he's like, "Nah, you have to perform." So I did like all the stuff, and that video was like shared by like heaps of black belts in Brazil, like throughout the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, because it was so unique. Like, what other magician do you know that does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and like performs in like at Jiu-Jitsu training?
Yes. Okay, so that goes into a marketing concept that I love, which is you have to be so specific. If you see two ads, okay, let's say you're I love learning about marketing. This is why I'm so excited about this specific thing. Let's say you're a pet company, like you sell pet food. You could say, I sell pet food, but your competitor who says, I sell dog food for golden retrievers, is going to do so much better than the guy who says, I sell pet food. If you're an owner with a golden retriever, who do you think you're going to? The guy who says pet food, or the guy who says sells dog food for golden retrievers? Like, you have to find where you are and own it. Go deep.
Yeah, and find the niche that would actually be interested in that, right? Because if it's like overly saturated and there's so many golden retriever brands and like whatever, then you might have a tough time getting in that like niche, Whereas, but yes, you're completely right. Exactly. You know, if again, like nowadays, if you're doing street magic, you're just another magician doing street magic. It's no big deal, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. But the thing is, see, for me, people are like actively asking for me to do street magic, like a lot, you know. And it's like, well, that's because people know me already.
Yup.
Yeah. So I found like a really like, you know, I found a way to get into the oversaturated market through a different means, you know.
Yeah, you went. You kept going down the rabbit hole. You went long tail. Yeah. You went YouTube, then YouTube Reacts, then YouTube Reacts for magicians. You just keep narrowing down until you cut out your chunk of people.
Yeah, and it's funny because no one was doing that at the time, right? And now I see Murphy's Magic doing it, and it's fine, you know. Like I totally support it, you know, Luke Dancy and stuff. But yeah, you know, like to be honest, like it's almost a compliment to my thing because it gives more validity to what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as competition at all.
Yeah, so there's another principle in marketing, which is blue ocean, red ocean. Red oceans are overcrowded, blue oceans are not. Find a blue ocean. Find something that's not being done, and that's exactly what you did. Okay, I want to go back just a little bit. You actually mentioned briefly that you were very nervous. You had social anxiety. Maybe not that exactly, but you were nervous about being caught doing magic. You weren't performing as much as you are now. Mm-hmm. What was it that kind of broke you out of that shell?
Okay, I actually made a video about this recently, so I'm quick on this one. All right, so yeah, no, I definitely did have social anxiety. I was an extrovert with terrible self-esteem and like pretty big social anxiety. So it was a very conflicting thing because I wanted to socialize, but I couldn't, right? Yeah. And I cared a lot what people thought about me, which was terrible because that just leads to not taking action because you're scared of what people will think. So essentially, you know, it comes down to a lot of things, but you know, I started off with a lot of internal kind of fixing, you know, so changing the way I think. This is a lot of self-improvement concepts here, but like basically whenever you notice something like a negative thought pattern that comes up, you replace it with a positive, even if it's not something that you believe. Like for example, let's say, for the longest time I thought magic was kind of nerdy and cringy and whatever, right? But I enjoyed it. So whenever I would notice that thought, I would replace it with like, nah, like maybe someone else is cringy, but like what I do is cool, right? And even if I didn't inherently like believe that, because you know it's like years of psychological, especially like you have a certain thought pattern for so long, it's hard, it's ingrained, you know, it's like the easy response to go to. So over time, you know, essentially you train your brain to think positively, to think in different ways, to think that you can, you know, for example, a lot of people that I know have the limiting beliefs that they can't do things. There's no way I could get a successful YouTube channel going, you know, things like that. Those type of limiting beliefs hold you back. So what you have to do is every time you notice them, you have to cut them like as quickly as you can, introduce a positive thought pattern, and over time that will become the new default essentially. It's kind of like having a grass, like a patch of grass, and you walk through it once, it's going to become like, you know, it's going to, trample the grass a little bit, but it's whatever. If you keep walking on the same line, it's going to become a pathway and grass will stop growing there, you know? So it's like the same thing with thoughts. So I did a lot of that just for general self-esteem building. And I think a lot of people struggle with this just throughout. I see it so much, you know, people are just so worried about what people think, and it's definitely not a good thing. And so, you know, I started getting more, like I started feeling a lot better about myself just in general, which definitely helps with confidence, which definitely helps with socializing, definitely helps with all those things. And, you know, I think a lot of people that have issues with performing and getting scared of getting caught, on some level believe that because they're this magician guy and because they, you know, that people know them as that, if they get caught with something, well, now all of a sudden they're a bad magician, right? And since that's their identity, they become a bad person in people's eyes, right? That's like, you don't actively rationalize that, but that's like subconsciously what's happening. Okay. So, yeah. So essentially, you have to, again, same thing, train your mind to be like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just having fun. There's no big deal, right? If someone catches something, it doesn't actually change who I am. It doesn't change my life, right? It doesn't actually influence me in any way, right? And so you have to, again, train that thought pattern, and then you have to take massive action. And initially it's going to be very difficult, and it was very difficult. You know, I was shaking, I had anxiety, but I did it anyway, right? I just forced myself to go out and perform. And over time, you know, I essentially, that does two things. It shows that you can do it, and the more times you perform, and you know, the more times you won't get caught, because actually getting caught it actually doesn't happen as much as, you know, you'd think if you don't perform. But you end up not getting caught a lot of the times, and you're like, wait a minute, this is actually a very low chance that people are going to actually catch what I'm doing. You know, and so then you actually start to reinforce those thought patterns that you've been building up, and they really solidify. And you know, it's amazing. You know, it's really like, now whenever someone asks to do a trick or whatever, I'm actually excited. You know, I'm actually like, yes, I can, I get to perform again, which was a huge step from where I was. And you know, and if you're enjoying it, then people are, like, everyone else is going to feel that. It's like, you know, they're going to feel that you're having fun. They're going to have fun. And the way, you know, nowadays, the way I deal with getting caught is, like, for example, if someone catches me doing a double lift, oh no, oh, who cares, right? Like, oh yeah, you're right. And then I do the classic pass face up, and then they lose their shit, you know. So it's like, you know, yeah. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to actually taking action. And again, it's so simple, but it's hard to do when you're stuck in that cycle. I've had people say that I don't have any way to perform. I don't have, like, you know, where do I even perform? Like, how do I, dude, honestly, if you go out if you're the type of person that would go to a club, or, you know, if you don't, then you should, because that will help you socialize. But, and you go out and you're meeting people, and you're not performing, well, then that's where you perform. You know what I mean? So I had, just the other week, I was out, and I was feeling a little bit stifled and not really in a social mood. So I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to go and interact with people. So I went, and there was this outside area at the club, and the people were taking a selfie. And so I just jumped in, like, hey, you know, just like all and I was completely sober as well. I don't drink. So I jumped in, like, hey, whatever, right? And they're like, yeah, get in. And they say, what's your Instagram? We'll tag you. So as soon as I get my Instagram, what comes up? Magician, blah, blah. They're like, wait, you do magic? Yeah, I do magic. I start performing for them. Then one of the bouncers sees, and he comes over, and I perform for him. Then he leaves, and he brings another bouncer, and I do it for him. Then, like, the waitress comes, and I do it for her, and then brings another. And then, like, before you know it, I'm performing for like 25 people, and it's just like back and forth. Everyone's going crazy, and then, like, I leave, and, like, the whole outside area knows who I am.
Oh my
you know?
gosh.
So it's like you just have to take it one step at a time. Just take action, and you know, you really have no excuse. Like, if you go out anywhere with these people, you can perform. But yeah, I did a whole video about how you should like, if you want to go out to perform, how you should approach people and stuff. But yeah, that's a whole other story. But yeah,
that's really cool. It's just pushing over that first domino, and then everything else will topple. There's
100%.
an idol of mine. So he's not Gary Vee, but same vein, a little more unknown. His name is Tom Bilyeu, and he talks a lot about replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts, even if you have no earthly right to believe them. So, for example, one of he has like a set thought that he'll replace for everything. So, for example, one that applies to when we're doing magic. Let's say you're in a mood where you just don't want to do magic. Tell yourself, I'm the kind of person who will do magic even when I don't feel like it. It's still grounded in, like, 100%. Reality, but you're reframing it in your mind, and that's exactly what you're saying. And I think it's so true. And not enough people push themselves into self-improvement. So if wherever they hear it, even if it's here, you know, I think it's good for people to have that tool at their disposal.
Huge, yeah.
Do you perform professionally a lot?
I don't actually. I was going to cut you off, but you were into your intro, so I didn't want to, like, because you said that last. Yeah. Yeah, so I actually don't. But I mean, it's really, the only reason I'm not is really, it's like my own thing, right? Because people, like, I go to the clubs, and people, like, the promoters, they, like, recognize me and stuff like that. So I to be honest, I should. But the thing is, I'm just so busy nowadays. It's like I'm literally working, you know, YouTube training, sleep, and then, like, weekends, like, my time off, and I'm just hanging out. And even if you know, even in the weekends, I should be doing like street magic or filming something, you know. So I always have things that I should be doing. But yeah, I haven't really. I've actually talked. I was going to do this one festival, but then I decided not to because it's like it'll be part of my it'll be like overlapping some other festival I want to go to. But yeah, like I definitely could, and I should. That's like one of the things that I haven't taken action for yet. But it's more out of like just being so busy. It's like less about like
Sure.
not wanting to, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an opportunity cost.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Before we wrap this up, I'll give you just one chance to anything you want to say that you feel like you haven't had a chance to say, or anything you want to emphasize again, anything like that, or not.
Hey man, I just hope anyone that's listening to this, if you're I mean, most likely, I'm assuming you're a magician if you're watching this. You know, definitely push yourself. You know, in whatever area you want to be pushing yourself in. You know, whether it's like YouTube. You know, whether it's. I mean, when I started YouTube, I was pretty worried about what people would think as well. And the first haters and stuff was it hit me hard. You know, they hit me pretty hard because I was, you know, you're not like really used to that. You're not really used to people just like having personal attacks on you. You know. Because it's different behind the keyboard. People they just talk shit and they don't really think about the consequences. But yeah, you know, so it hit me pretty hard. So again, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's never like this easy thing that you just ride into the sunset. You know, it's definitely going to be a struggle. But you know, essentially, if you keep learning from every fail or every, you know, it's never a fail really. It's you either win or you learn. So you know, just push yourself 100%. And you know. The thing is, if I had never watched Gary Vee, I'd still be just doing springs in the mirror and not talking to people.
Oh yeah.
So definitely go and watch Gary Vee.
Exactly, and see that's like another thing. He has helped us so much. He's given us so much value that here we're on a podcast. He doesn't know about it. He'll never know about it. But we're already indoctrinating people, telling them about Gary Vee. The power 100%. Of networking. All right, great. Did you read that book, or did you hear about that book? Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
I haven't. Who's it by? Did he write it?
I don't know. It wasn't Gary Vee, but just
okay.
you said that, and I'm like, maybe no. All right.
No. That's just the jiu-jitsu saying. Like
really?
when you tap, you know, you don't actually you're learning what to not to do.
It's a really good expression. Yeah. When and it applies everywhere. Magic. So if you're performing and you get caught, you learned something. Be grateful for the lesson you just learned, whatever it was.
Yeah, and again with a cat, we're getting caught. Don't act butthurt. You know, this is huge. I used to do this. Just agree with them and treat them like oh yeah, you're right, and you know it's like you're showing them something cool as opposed to being this magician that's up here and they're not supposed to know anything, you know.
Yeah.
But sorry, that's a sidetrack. I do that.
No worries. Keep going. And it kind of okay. You recently did a video on Tommy Wonder. Tommy Wonder is actually one of my favorite magicians. He does some really great things, and he has a torn and restored card routine that he teaches in his lectures, and it's just with one card, right? His line is, have you ever seen a trick done with less than one card? And then he tears the card. So he's doing it with 3/4 of the card. He rips up the card, he restores it, except for the one last corner. Okay? And then he's like, and sometimes people want me to restore the last corner, but it's impossible. And then he restores it. He does what he says he can't do. And then if someone picks it up, they'll see, hey, this is just Scotch tape, or this is just duct tape. And he's like, well, yeah, what do you think? That ties back to what you're saying with just being like a normal human. Sometimes magicians perform in a way that like elevates them to God status, but just normalizing yourself, like, what was I supposed to do? It's duct tape. Of course, I can't actually do that. If you get caught and saying, yeah, you're right, that's, you know, you're bringing yourself back down to like normal person, I'm friendly level, and you're not like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You're
coming back that relatability.
Exactly.
Relatability. There we go.
Exactly.
And so then people actually want to hang out with you, and as opposed to just being like, okay, cool tricks, later I'm out. You know, like.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. This is kind of a big one, so we can unpack it a couple times. But what makes good magic, and what can magicians do to make their magic better?
Okay. Interesting. from my experience, well, I mean, from my observations, I think entertainment should come above the magic. Unless you're in a society where people literally believe that magic is real, and they get freaked out, and like you go to Vanuatu or something, and you do, But even then, I think that's in a way, I think it's immoral to do that, in my opinion, to claim that you really have powers when you don't. That's just my view on it. So yeah, I disagree with a few of the big names, but yeah, I think especially in the 21st century, man, information is so easily accessible. People are going to be able to search your tricks up and figure them out. Like, whether you want it to or not, it's going to happen. There's tutorials everywhere. Every single channel, Magic Channel, does tutorials. I didn't want to do that, by the way. I still don't know how I feel about them, but I guess I learned from tutorials, so I can't. I'll be hypocritical to say, like, tutorials are shit. So I think you have to go 100% on entertainment, because, like, this isn't the 1800s anymore. People aren't going to believe you literally can do shit that you say you do. You know what I mean? So that's why everything I do, I claim that I'm cheating, right? Like, I always say, like, everything I relate back to cheating. Like, and it works with my persona and stuff like that. But yeah, I find that works a lot better than claiming to actually have superpowers, or claiming that things are happening when whatever. So and that's what I see a lot. Entertainment comes above everything. However, there seems to be a lot of people that enjoy, like, magic-oriented magic. Shin Lim comes to mind. For me, I have nothing against the dude. I love the guy, right? But to me, the musical aspect and the whole theatrical thing kind of actually bores me a little bit, because I mean I'm really hyperactive and whatever, but that's probably why. But like, I would rather him be cracking jokes and doing the same stuff he's doing, or like having like some kind of patter. That's just my personal view on it. So, I mean, that's my opinion, and I definitely know there's a market for magic-oriented magic,
yeah, and
people definitely love it. So, but I do definitely think that entertainment should be above everything. Piff the Magic Dragon, huge example. Like, that guy is just the funniest dude ever, right? And he's just like, the magic's kind of secondary. But yeah, I mean, as long as, I don't know, as long as it works, right? So you really should be testing it on spectators, and see what they think about it. Because from a magician standpoint, good magic, I mean, for me, Leonard Green is good magic for me. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I know how hard that is. But a spectator might think that, maybe just like a double lift is better. I don't know. So I think you should be. It's like a comedian testing jokes on the public. You never really ask another comedian, like, oh, what do you think of this joke? Like, oh, probably will work, and then you have to test it still, right? It doesn't. You don't just like think jokes and then you go out and they're gonna kill. No, usually they've been tested for like a year, and then they come up with the comedy special. So again, like, it comes back to performing a lot, because that's when you really figure out what works and what doesn't. But I definitely think that if you focus on entertaining, I mean, your magic's, if you're entertaining, your magic doesn't really matter as much. But at the same time, then you're going to have to be able to hold the attention of people, and then still test out what you're trying. I think that's the best way to go about it, because ultimately everyone enjoys different things. So if you can see what your spectators like and the type of people you're performing for, then you can kind of tailor your magic to what they want.
Great answer. I want
to
point out something. No, you're welcome. Don't move right there. You can see through your body, like, right. You can't
really
see my mouse right now, but yeah, you can actually see through your body to the window behind you, and I have no idea how that's happening. It's a freaking magic trick. Here, move just a little bit this way.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's insane. You're a ghost. That's so crazy. You're an actual ghost.
I see it too.
You can see the curtain and everything.
That's crazy. I see it too.
No, but how is that happening?
Right. I mean, this is you've come to the right guy for magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they say magic isn't done through devil worship. Has to be spirits. All right, Eduard, thank you for joining us, guys. Listen to this man. He's seen so much magic just on his React channel alone. He's getting to understand what good magic is. When you see as much as he does, you start to pick up on a few things. So thank you for joining us. Tell them where they can find you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. My pleasure. That's all I want to say.
No, tell them where they can find you.
Oh, okay. Well, you can find me at Eduard Todor on YouTube. That's my channel name. Eduard Todor on Instagram. Facebook, I think, should be the same. Yep. Twitter, same thing. Like all my things are pretty similar. And if you guys want to hang out and come out and join me on my Discord channel, the links for the Discord link invite are in my descriptions for every video. So definitely do that. I'm on there quite a bit, and we can just kind of hang out. So that's really about it.
Awesome. Guys, if you're looking for magician friends, join our group on Facebook. Our website is live. This is actually the first interview that I've done since the new website is up, and it's a big deal for us. So magicmindcenter.com. Please check it out. You'll be one of the first. All right. Thank you for joining us.